Hey everybody, Tara Thomas, Waterloo Schools Director of School and Community Relations, the official title. I like to think of myself as the communications guru for Waterloo Schools. Always a pleasure to share the airwaves of KBBG with the listening audience. Last year, we had a lot of enlightening conversations and hopefully filled the gaps in for you where some information voids might lie in regard to what's going on in all the schools around here from pre-K to 12th, where your children and grandchildren, and many of you are former students and have been involved and still have a stake in the future of Waterloo Schools. We always appreciate your support, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be with KBBG for another school year to continue to have these very important conversations, because truly the children and their education has to be paramount in our community, and we all have to get behind that. And somebody who I don't have to convince of that passion is my first guest for this half hour. It's Ellen Vanderloo. She is a long-time Waterloo Schools, really passionate, involved individual. Currently, her role is the mentor and volunteer coordinator, and she works very closely with so many of you, people who are willing to donate your time and your energy to enhance our schools and the opportunities for students. She is the conduit by which you can be connected to get plugged into one of our buildings. Ellen also has a passion for keeping children in school and seeing those children through to graduation. She can tell you how that works in the mentor role, but there's also an event coming up that we want to get details about shared with you, and that's called Reconnect to Graduate. So welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Tara.
Talk about this, the background, how it came to be.
Well, this will be our third year to have a community-wide effort to get our young people back in school, those that have dropped out or have not come back to school this fall. And how it originated was in Houston, Texas. The mayor there actually started this initiative of having a community outreach to youth who had dropped out of school. And from there, Des Moines Public Schools picked up the effort, and I heard about it, and we brought it to Waterloo. And as I said, this will be our third year. Just to give you a little background, last year we had volunteers who were from our community and our school district that visited 170 homes, and 61 youth came back to school and re-enrolled. And this June we checked up on those students, and 51 either were still in school or had graduated. So only 10 had re-dropped out again, which I think is fantastic.
Absolutely. So essentially what she's saying is it would require just 3 hours of your time on a Saturday morning. You would be teamed up with other volunteers. You don't have to go it alone. And then these individuals, their homes, their addresses are identified as children who are at risk or who are proceeding with dropping out of continuing their high school education. So Ellen and her staff would team up then to actually send you out to these handful of homes during that morning period, where you would encourage and just be of support to that child to say, hey, a lot of good things can come from your life, especially if you fulfill that high school diploma requirement. So talk about why it is worth somebody's time. Why should we get out there and connect with these children?
Well, I can just relate a couple of examples from past years. One young man, when the team came to his door and they said, we really want you to come back to school. And he looked at them and said, I didn't know I could come back. He thought that once he dropped out, that was it. So how awesome that, he was given the information of, hey, yes, you can come back. And just, we also give the young people and their families a list of options. You don't have to just come back to East High School or West High School. There's alternative schools. We now have a school classroom at the mall. We have after-hours schools for students that have to work or maybe have child issues that you can come later in the day and work with a teacher and earn credits. We have online learning. There's just lots of options.
That's such a good point. It's not a one-size-fits-all educational path anymore. Waterloo Schools is offering an array of choices because we want that child, we want that student to see it through, and we're going to give him or her an option, an alternative pathway than the traditional sit and get in the East or West high schools. We also have programming beyond Expo. As Ellen mentioned, we have Crossroads Connection, which is a classroom literally in Crossroads Mall, and it is a virtual opportunity with students to really work around their schedules at their own pace, but at the same time, we still have qualified teachers and educators offering to support these individuals all along the process, be it in the mall or in the classroom setting. So it's a great opportunity that we've afforded many students to say, we know you may not be able to finish at West or East, it may not be the best fit for you and your family situation, but let's look at alternatives because we truly want everybody to have that opportunity to finish their degree. So what have you personally experienced when you go out and you knock on these doors? Give us an example of the, I guess, really positive energy that flows between both the family and the volunteer.
It has been really positive, and it's fun to be a part of the team, and I was so pleased that we were well received in every home that I visited the last 2 years. And one that comes to mind especially was the young woman that I actually mentored this past school year. 2 years ago, our team, Steve Schmidt, our city councilman, was on my team, and another young woman. And the three of us knocked on the door, and I could see this family was inside having breakfast, and they were so gracious, and they invited us into their home, and we learned that they were originally from El Salvador. And when this young woman was 16 and a student at West High, her dad said to her, you know, that's enough. You need to drop out of school and help support the family. Well, she dropped out, but she did never get a job, and she sat home. And so when we came to their home and said, you know, this is important, she needs to get her education, Dad, you know, got on board with it, and we got her back in school, and this last spring, in June, she was able to graduate at West High.
I love it. So one of many success stories coming out of all of our really collective push in the district to get students back in class, to get students to finish their degree. If you're just joining us, this is Tara Thomas with Waterloo Schools. You're hearing the voice of Ellen Vanderloo. She's our mentor volunteer coordinator who is spearing up the third year of a program that's Reconnect to Graduate is what it's titled. It's essentially a volunteer, a team going out, knocking on doors of students that have dropped out, who are at risk of feeling like they've fallen through the crack and there's no future education opportunity for them. We're pulling them back, we're knocking on the door and saying, hey, we're going to connect you with the people and the resources to see your degree through. It's coming up, so we need to share those details, Ellen. It's Saturday, September 6th from 9 a.m. to noon, so a 3-hour commitment on a Saturday morning. I'll be there for my second year of volunteering, and I can tell you, just as those children we hope benefit from it, as we've been sharing similarly, the volunteers feel good and can connect with students to just say, hey, we care about you, and we know that so many of you listening do care. Talk about that. How can they sign up?
They can sign up by calling our school administration offices, 433-1800, and just tell the person that answers the phone that you want to sign up for the Reconnect to Graduate effort, and we'll get connected. And I want to stress too that we'd really like to have people from all the neighborhoods participate in this, because I think it means a lot more to a young person and a family if, say, you go to church together and you come on Saturday morning and say to them, you know, it's important to your family, to us, that you finish your education. So we want people to be able to connect to those that are coming to their doors. So I'd really like to get a cross-section of our community to volunteer for this effort.
That's a wonderful point, and hey, if you can speak another language, so much the better. We'd welcome that as well. We've had some English language learner, teacher support, and bilingual volunteers come and be a part of it, which, as Ellen mentioned, is really beneficial in a case of showing up on the doorstep of a Spanish-speaking or other language-speaking home. So Reconnect to Graduate, it's coming up Saturday, September 6th from 9 to noon. You want to call 433-1800, so 319-433-1800 to sign up to be a volunteer for just 3 hours of your time that could make a lifetime of a difference in a young person's life. And while she's here, we also have to plug the Teammates program that Ellen oversees, where essentially we say, you want to help, how can you do it? She plugs you into a building and gets you connected. Talk about why people should give up even 1 hour a week to make a difference in a child's life.
Teammates is a one-on-one chance to make a difference. We are recruiting adults 18 and older who are willing to come and be matched with a student from 3rd grade all the way up through 12th grade. So depending on your interest and students that you're comfortable with, we can make a match at the school, the grade level that you're interested in. We do ask for a 1-year commitment to come and meet with a student 1 class period a week throughout the school year. You meet at the school during the school day, which is a safety feature for the student and for you as a mentor. But we have been able to document through data collected that students that have mentors have increased attendance, improved grades, and decreased office referrals. So it's very important to just have another caring adult in a child's life.
Absolutely. I was a mentor for years through Waterloo Schools. My mentee is now, would that be correct term?
Yes.
Ellen Mentee.
Mhm.
She's now almost, I believe, 20, so went through Cunningham, went through East, and now I'm going to start the process over with another young person. So I hope you join me and Ellen. We have so many wonderful volunteers, and we always need more, and we love your ideas, your energy that you bring to the table, and what a benefit to a young person to have some additional adult or caring individual. So please contact Ellen. What's the number? Should they call that same administration office number?
Sure, that'd be great, 433-1800, and just ask for Ellen Vanderloo or the mentoring program, and we'll get you an application, or you can apply online with the Waterloo School website. Just look under community and then volunteers, and there'll be an application there, or you can look at teammates.org and apply online there, or call and I will mail you an application, or I'll even deliver one.
Awesome. See, she'll go the extra mile. We really want you there because we know that some of you listening have the time, and definitely you all have the talent to be able to just commit a really small percentage of your time during the week or even during a month to give these children a better advantage, if you will, in knowing that they have so many people in the community who care about them, and you can build that relationship. And what we do know, what Ellen has said locally and nationally, the research shows what a huge difference it makes in a young person's life. So call Ellen, 433-1800, if you'd like to volunteer. If not, for Reconnect or Graduate, we'd love to see you throughout the school year in our buildings. So many opportunities, and it doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, we're gonna welcome you and go through a really simple process where we, do a background check, make sure that we're keeping the kids and everybody safe, and then we're gonna allow you that access to build that relationship. So please consider being a volunteer in the Waterloo Schools. And thanks, Ellen, for stopping by and sharing all of your wisdom. And one last pitch here. Why give of your time? All of us are busy, but why give of our time to help these kids in Waterloo Schools?
Because it's going to make a better community. Our community is only as strong and good as the people that live in it, and the better educated our young people can be, the more opportunities are going to be afforded to them, and they're going to prosper and do well, and that's going to benefit all of us.
Very well said. An excellent point to end on. Ellen Vanderloo, mentor, volunteer coordinator at Waterloo Schools. And right after this, don't go anywhere, we're going to talk busing. Kathy Corbett, my friend from Durham, is here, and we're going to answer some of your questions and concerns about busing as we head into a new school year. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Tara Thomas, Waterloo Schools. Thanks for hanging with me. I enjoy this time on KBBG, so I missed this during the summer, but we're back for another school year. Twice a month I'll be bringing you up-to-date information and interviews with key players in the Waterloo Schools, and we hope that you or someone you know who has a child or grandchild or obviously just cares about the schools in the future would take time to listen and connect with me. You can always call me, 433-1800, and say, hey, I'd like to hear about this, or I have a question about that. And believe you me, I will find you an answer and address it in a future program. So Kathy Corbett is on deck as my second guest this half hour. She is the head of Durham School Services in Waterloo. This is her second year with Durham. She has become a good friend of mine and somebody who truly values and cares about the busing procedures and the safety of all your children and grandchildren on board. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Great. So how's it going? We're gearing up here. Cunningham's rolling. We've got the buses for Cunningham out. Everything, we're knocking on wood, has been smooth sailing. Talk about it.
We're doing pretty good. We got them out. We didn't have too many, a little first aid issues and stuff, but otherwise it was pretty smooth sailing. We got them out, and it looks like, knock on wood, I'm predicting smooth sailing for the rest of the groups too.
Absolutely, and what everybody wants to know, in case you have not heard, and we've tried to help Durham share this through our website, through social media like Facebook and Twitter and the kind of young person outlets that people go to for information. we have been talking about the bus information and how you're going to get it. So Kathy, confirm for me, the cards went out yesterday.
The cards went out yesterday, and as a matter of fact, I've had phone calls this morning from parents who've received them and just had questions and stuff, you know, we helped them out. But it seems like quite a few of them got out this morning, I must have been sometime this morning when they came in the mail.
Wonderful. So in the mail, today or tomorrow, if you have an address that is eligible for bus ridership, expect to get a postcard that would notify you of the nearest stop.
That's correct.
And if somebody didn't receive that postcard by tomorrow's mail, they should call Durham.
Yep, give us a call and we'll be happy to help you out. If there's an address that's not correct, please make sure that they have their address correct at the school. Because if there's an address that's not correct, obviously they're going to get the right information. They also, is a little added bonus, if they're eligible for a stop, I believe we got all the daycare forms out for those who are eligible for stops. So they should come out with their daycare listed on that form if they applied for one.
Wonderful. So tell us the phone number for the bus garage, or what do you like to call it, the bus facility?
It's the bus garage. Everybody thinks it's the bus garage, so that's a good name to call it. Our number is actually 319-291-4879.
291-4879, that's the number to call. But before you pick up the phone, if you missed what we've been talking about, bus information is being mailed out as we speak. The cards went in the mail yesterday. As Kathy has indicated, some families have already received that information, so today or tomorrow, check the mailbox, hit it up, hit that postal worker up for where's my postcard, and if you don't get it, you can contact Durham at 291-4879, but give them some time here to mail the information out, because there are just a lot of bus riders, and you don't have the staff to field every call 24/7, so it makes sense that you would mail it.
That's right. We actually mailed out about 5,700 stops yesterday.
Wow, so.
And they're actually in letters, not in postcards, so make sure not just
Okay,
looking for
I'm sorry.
postcard. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that the kids are safe and that their stops, their information isn't where everybody could see it. So we put it out in a
Absolutely.
letter.
It makes perfect sense. So look for a letter in your mailbox. Now, the other thing we have to say is kind of explaining the method behind the madness, if you will. In the past, it was tradition that some of the bus routes would be published on the school's website once the internet came into play. And beyond that, a lot of folks have looked in local media outlets like the Courier newspaper to have those routes listed. And what Kathy and I have tried to reinforce is we do not do that from a safety standpoint, number one. As she just mentioned in regard to that information about your child and his or her stop, we don't want individuals to know the whereabouts, the times, the locations of the buses and the routes for the safety of all the young people that are being transported. And then doubly, we cannot use all the bus routes as a subway stop, if you will, to cherry pick who's going to go where. We want your child to be on that same stop at that same location to and from every day, because that's what makes the most sense, not just from an efficiency standpoint, but from a safety standpoint, so Kathy and her staff can keep track of and make sure all those babies are accounted for.
And not just that, but sometimes the buses are fully loaded, and we tried real hard to be the most efficient as we can with spending the district's money for transportation. So we put as many kids as possible on those buses safely. And we want to make sure that we don't have kids that are moving to different stops or jumping different buses, because that puts the kids that are supposed to be on that bus out of a bus stop or a bus ride.
Absolutely. And last year, there were a lot of people that really weren't aware that they didn't meet those ridership eligibility criteria. So let's just review, so we remind everybody, for elementary, for middle and high, tell us the criteria to qualify for busing.
So what the state of Iowa says is that if they are in elementary school and they are over 2 miles, they're eligible for a ride. If they're in high school and they're over 3 miles, they're eligible for a ride. Waterloo Community Schools and the school board or school district for Waterloo is a little bit more concerned about the kids, and they were thinking that those kids that are in grades K through 5, they should be able to ride a bus if they are over 1 mile to the school. So it's not really the state requirements, they just went a little bit above and beyond to do that.
So again, if you're just hearing this and it sounds confusing, what Kathy is saying is the only obligation Waterloo Schools has for K through 5th graders is to meet a 2-mile standard, which means you could live 2 miles away and that would be the only opportunity to receive busing, 2 miles and beyond. But in fact, what she and what we've worked out with Durham for Waterloo Schools is we want the younger kids to have an opportunity to get that transportation and to have the safer opportunity for transportation via a bus within a 1 mile radius. So a lot more children are opened up to get that coveted bus riding seat because of that criteria being dropped down to just a mile. And as she mentioned, you're covering then over 5,500 stops.
That's correct.
In the Waterloo Schools area. So when you hear that there are over 5,500 bus stops, locations on any given school day, we have to say hats off to Kathy and her staff that they're able to, for the most part, overwhelmingly meet all of those demands efficiently, timely, and safely.
That's correct. Now, those kids that are eligible for rides, they get routed first because those are the eligible for rides. Then the next kids that get routed is we're working on the daycare kids that are eligible, so that they live in that 1, 2, 3 miles. And those daycare forms, unless they've just put them in the last day or two, are complete and were mailed out with the things yesterday.
Wonderful.
Now, after that, we have the daycare forms that are under the miles, so they're too close to the school to actually be eligible for a ride. And so we're processing those right now, and I actually have about 20 of those forms left to process. And they're making calls right now as we speak. And then we're moving on to the paid forms, and those would be kids that are not eligible for a ride, they're not going to a daycare, but they would like a ride if it's possible, and so they can pay a fee to the district, and that fee, I believe, is $55 or $27.50 for the next kid. It's $55 for the first one, $27.50 for the next kid, and then they put in a paid application. Now, don't get nervous, because if it's a paid application and you have a free or reduced lunch, you can talk to the finance office at the district, and they'll work with you on the fees for the paid transportation, but it still have to fill out a paid form, and it's still considered paid transportation, because I guess then the state pays for it after that. We are processing those forms, and we have a blackout period until Labor Day. So those are not supposed to be available till Labor Day, but we're doing awfully good on them.
Hey, I love it. Kathy's working, her staff's working, they're trying to accommodate you. So if you're just joining us, this is Tara Thomas with Waterloo Schools, joined by Kathy Corbett. She's the head of Durham School Services, who does all things busing for Waterloo Schools. And a lot of people have questions and concerns. What we're reinforcing to everyone who listens or checks out the website, those bus information letters have gone out as of yesterday. So Wednesday, let's see, this could be airing at a different time. So today is Thursday, August 14th, but yesterday, Wednesday, August 13th, those bus letters went out. Anybody who is in that eligible ridership area, any household, should receive it by tomorrow. If not, call Kathy and her staff at 319-291-4879. Now, if you're in the other group, the daycare provider group, or you are, looking to get that paid ridership opportunity, Kathy's saying, go ahead, plan on filling out the paperwork. Even if you have a free and reduced lunch criteria, fill out the paperwork knowing that you're not going to ultimately have to pay for that, because there will be that refund coming to cover you from the state. So it's a great option, but just take the time to make sure you have all your paperwork filled out, because they need to get your kid and your stop on the books at Durham, and Kathy's staff is really working hard to expedite that a lot sooner than that Labor Day deadline. So I guess, what else do you want to say, Kathy? This is a great opportunity for you to tell parents who might have questions.
I want to remind some parents, because we've had some questions about daycare forms. Daycares, we only transport from your home, or we transport from a licensed registered daycare. If grandma is your daycare opportunity, or aunt or uncle, and they're not a registered daycare, we can't do that transportation. It has to be registered or licensed.
And that's not Kathy or Durham's call, that's a state and federal law. So she's complying with the safety standards that have been set forth, because we want to make sure that all the individuals watching the kids where the buses come are licensed if they're not immediate family members, or if they're not in a setting where they've been approved by DHS.
Perfect. There are a couple other things I want to mention. With the stop times, we sent out a letter asking if the kids would be out 5 minutes before the stop time. That really helps our drivers, especially the first few days of school, if we're running a little bit early or a little bit late. We ask for a 5-minute window on either side of their stop time before we start calling the bus garage and asking where the thing is. Otherwise, please give us a call and let us know if you're running late, or if you think you've been missed, or something's happened. We would like very much for you to pay attention to the route numbers that are coming on your letters that we send to you. The route numbers will be in the front window on the right-hand side of the bus, and they will also be posted right next to the door as the kids get on the bus. So that way, if we have to change out a bus because something broke or something, it won't get the kids all confused, because we'll just move those route numbers to the new bus.
I love that. So key points here, give the bus driver a 5-minute window, an early or late arrival of 5 minutes at least before you start calling the bus barn, especially these first few days. And look for the route number that Kathy said the drivers are gonna post in the window, not the bus number, the route number. So in your letter, you're gonna get that information, your child's route number, and that's the number he or she wants to look for and retain, so that if the bus number were to switch, because clearly with that many riders, you might have to swap out a bus, mechanical issues happen. Just keep in mind that route number is the key one to look for. And Kathy, going into your second year, I guess, tell us why you enjoy working with Durham and serving the Waterloo students as a bus guru.
Well, actually, I was a little nervous when I first came here, and we had a little bit, we had some issues and stuff last year, but it's getting better every year, and it makes me feel so good when those kids get to school that first day, and I know all the buses are tucked in, and they're all safe at school, and the kids are all dropped off, and the fact that some of those kids maybe wouldn't get to school if we didn't have the transportation available for them, and we play a part in, like we were talking about Ellen, about getting those kids to school, we play a part in that, and we can get them there, and that makes me feel like I accomplished something.
Absolutely. Well, keep up the good work. Kathy cares. Durham wants to help your children get to and from school safely. Call the bus barn, 291-4879, starting tomorrow evening or Monday if you don't get your information. And we have about 10 seconds for Kathy to say the final word.
I just want to make one last appeal. Please watch out for stop arms on buses. If you go past a stop arm on a bus, you could cost a child their life.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Tara Thomas and Kathy Durham. Kathy with Durham.